Hello and welcome. My name's Tony and I'm here with the Everyday Counts program. Welcome to an hour of chair yoga. And this is week 4 in our focus on strengthening the pelvic floor. So we've gone from identifying the pelvic floor, diaphragmatic breath, to start to release the pelvic floor and understand how the pelvic floor moves in harmony with the diaphragm. We've created knowledge around how the pelvic floor is only part of the system of our core and the different jobs that the core involves. And then last week, we started to engage the pelvic floor. Engage in 2 ways: long holds and quick pulses. The long holds are there for the endurance and strength, for everyday posture and stability, and the quick pulses are there for those times when we need a little bit extra help. So when we're coughing, sneezing, when we lift something, when we're jogging or jumping up and down. So if anything in the pelvic floor, if you're having any symptoms and the symptoms are getting worse, please go back to maybe even the first class where we're starting to connect with the pelvic floor and relax the pelvic floor. So the first 2, go back to the first 2 sessions, because if things are increasing, if symptoms are increasing like bladder leakage or discomfort, then chances are it's about the pelvic floor not being released enough. As I said right in the beginning, the majority of problems with the pelvic floor is because the pelvic floor is too tight. So again, I encourage you, if there's any discomfort or adding of symptoms since you've started this series, then please go back to the beginning and start to really tune in to the letting go. There is no point engaging if we can't relax as well. For those of you who feel like everything's going great, we're going to add on today. So we've got our 2 holds, our endurance hold and our quick pulses. So what we're going to be doing today is doing those in different shapes as we're starting to bring our knowledge into functional movement. It is great to do it in stillness to really isolate and understand what we're doing. But then we start to move dynamically as we do generally every day. So we're not usually all the day, every day, on our back with our knees up, being able to focus on our pelvic floor. We're moving around, we're doing our daily tasks, we're eating, we're preparing food, we're, working. So that's what we're going to start to do. It's going to start to bring those movements, those long holds and the quick pulses into different shapes. Okay, so when you're ready, you're going to settle into a comfortable place. And because the pelvic floor is part of that whole core inner system to help us with our stability and posture, I'm going to encourage you to sit away from the back of the chair, because that alone starts to engage everything rather than the chair supporting our core for us. Comfortable distance with the feet. Pick up the feet, pick up the balls of the feet if you like. Give those ankles a little wiggle and waggle. Any intuitive movement here to settle in and fan those toes out really nice and wide. And then when you're ready, settle the balls of the feet down if they were lifted, and then gently settle the toes, so no gripping there. Make sure you feel stable on the chair. Adjust at any point if you do not feel stable. And from here, take a big breath in. Exhale it out nice and slow. Let's do another 2 of those. Starting to close your eyes or lower or soften your gaze. Last one. Let the breath come back to its own natural pace. And find yourself on the chair, in the space that you're in. Notice that support underneath your feet, your seat. Take your awareness to the soles of your feet and just start to gently add pressure as if just with your legs you're pushing down into the earth evenly through both feet. And as you do that, the muscles of the legs will start to wake up. It doesn't have to be a lot of pressure, and you might even notice how that awakening through the legs actually ripples up through your lower back, through your belly. You might even feel yourself sit a little taller. These are the core engagements starting to awaken, and then allow that pressure to just ebb away. So your legs are just softly in space. Your feet are just resting on the support. Now take a big breath in. Exhale it out. Bring your awareness to your sit bones, your sitting bones. So if you wiggle from side to side on your chair, depending on how cushioned your chair is, you should be able to feel two bony bits either side of you. And again, depending on how cushioned your chair is, if it's a really hard chair, and this could be uncomfortable in your hands, but just slide one hand and then another hand right underneath your seat, and then you'll feel those two sit bones underneath you. And then you can rock and roll a little bit from side to side, and they're going to shift side to side as you plant your weight one side to the other. And you want to be sitting right up on top of those sit bones. So rooting to rise, so pushing, allowing the pelvis to sit heavy, and then from there lifting through the lower abdominals, the torso, the waistline, the ribs, up through the crown of the head. Roll the shoulders back and down, even with your hands resting there. Now those two sit bones are really important. We're going to come back to that later. Right in between those sit bones lies the pelvic floor. And then, of course, the pelvic floor comes from between the sit bones, but it connects to the pubic bone and the tailbone a little bit up and back from your back passage. And release the hands, give them a little shake if you like, and we'll come back to that. Do a little check-in, notice how you're doing today, what's on your mind and in your heart. Emotions. Notice your physical body, and if there's anywhere in your body you need to be extra careful of today, anywhere that feels a little tender or a little tight. Relax where you feel everything gets hardened as best as you can, and we'll start to pay attention to our breath. We're going to come to those whole torso breaths, like your balloon. Your torso is a balloon. On the inhale, it expands, and on the exhale, it softens. As we deepen and lengthen the breath, and so that expansion gets a little slower, a little more controlled, as does that relaxation. There might be particular areas that you're very well aware of this balloon inflating and deflating in your torso. I want you to take your awareness to your pelvic floor, between the pubic bone in the front, that tailbone up and back, and between those sit bones. And on the inhale, as the diaphragm pushes down, the pelvic floor pushes down, and then on that exhale, it retracts. So there's this movement through the whole torso, that expansion and softening. So we check in and make sure that the pelvic floor is moving as fluidly as possible, and it's a very subtle movement. This is not a bearing down movement. And if you need to take a little bit of extra practice to make sure your pelvic floor is feeling like it's moving with the diaphragm, then please do. We're going to start off as we did last week, practicing those long endurance holds in the pelvic floor and the quick pulses. So with that nice steady breath, We're going to just focus on the smoothness of that breath coming in and out. And as long as you checked in, making sure that pelvic floor is moving with the diaphragm, then you're all good. All I want you to focus on is the steadiness of the breath. And then when you're ready, keeping everything else soft and relaxed, I want you to lift together and up around your anus, your back passage. Together and up with the perineum, which is just between the sit bones. Together and up with the urethra, which is where we pee. And we're going to hold that. Hold it in as if you're lifting the weight of a blueberry. 4, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, keep breathing, 2, 1, and let it go. Allow the pelvic floor to soften, moving with the diaphragm, and we're going to do that one more time. On the next exhale, as the pelvic floor lifts, we're going to draw everything in and up, lifting the weight of a blueberry, back, middle, and front. 4, 10, 9, 8, keep connected to the breath. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. We're going to do that one more time. So soft breath, soft pelvic floor. On one of your next exhales, as the pelvic floor lifts, draw everything together and up. 4, 10, 9, 8, keep breathing. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let go. Nicely done. If you found that if you find that you're tensing different areas of your body, your shoulders, your jaw, your hands, your hips, pay attention to that and keep the isolation in the pelvic floor and relax the areas, if there are any areas that are gathering tension as you hold. We really want to isolate in the pelvic floor. Let's do that one more time. So when you're ready, everything gathers on an exhale together and lifting. 4, 10, 9, 8, keep breathing. 7, 6, 5, relax what's not connected. 4, 3, 2, 1, one more, 1, and let it go. I forgot the 5 in there. Okay, we're going to continue with those holds, only we're going to draw in and up, together and up, and then we're going to pulse. Okay, once again, if you find the areas of your body, even random areas of your body trying to tense as you're pulsing through the pelvic floor, then see if you can let those areas go and focus on pulsing in the pelvic floor. So keep the breath even, and then when you're ready, on an exhale, we're drawing together and up, and we're pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Take a breath in. On the exhale, draw together and up. 4, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it go. We've got one more of those to go. Big breath in. On an exhale, the pelvic floor is coming together and up, and we're pulsing. 4, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. Hold torso breaths. And if you need to pause this, so you make sure that your pelvic floor is releasing and moving with that diaphragm, please do. Otherwise, we're rooting to rise. Steady breath. And from here, let's dangle those hands down. This is the inhale. On the exhale, right ear to right shoulder. Inhaling up and exhaling to the other side. Side to side. Steady breath. Beautifully done. Next time we come back through center, we'll stay there and we're glancing to the right, back to center with the breath and over to the left. Keeping the collarbones wide here so there's no shoulder creeping forward. Notice what's happening in your neck, throat, upper shoulders, chest, upper back. Not pushing past the breath. And let's take one more either side. Coming back through center. Let's circle those shoulders. Inhaling up, exhaling down. The movements are slow and lazy with the breath. The breath guides the shoulders up and down and round, whichever direction you're going in. Trying to keep the spine as neutral as possible, as best as you can. So the movement is in the shoulders. Of course, everything's connected. We've got that fascia, which is kind of like a sheath underneath our skin, and in between, layering in between all the soft tissues, the organs, and then we'll pause and go around in the opposite direction. So everything in the body is connected, which is why when we move our shoulders like this, we're not just feeling this in the shoulders. You might feel it in a very different place because of the muscles or fascia that are connected. Keep the breath flowing. And then when you're ready, we'll take those hands down. Let's turn that right and left palm out. Option to stay here, option to take the left hand to the chair. We're going to come side to side. So from the elbow, inhaling up, exhaling down, and then we'll do the other side. Right and left. And this is a great place to stay, keeping those shoulders nice and soft. The movement's coming from the elbow. Option to start to move from the shoulder, palm up on the inhale, down on the exhale. Those hands can come up and over. Opposite hand can support you on the chair, should that feel better for you. We're starting to lengthen through one side of the body as we reach. And as we're tipping, some of us are coming to the side. As we tip out of balance, we have to engage those lower and mid-torso muscles to keep us supported. The hand on the chair can help with that support. Flowing one side to the other. Let's take two more either side. You're always welcome to rest. Flow with the breath, not pushing past the breath. In your own time, finish up that last set, and then we're coming all the way back to center. From here, we're going to take those sit bones, those hands underneath the sit bones. And if your chair is really hard, please take a pillow or a couple of folded towels or a blanket underneath your seat and slip your hands just by your sit bones so you've got a soft cushioning of the hands. We don't want any bruised hands here. Let's steady the breath. And I want you to notice how close together those sit bones are. Of course, the pelvic floor is in between the sit bones. So this is the exhale, which is kind of counterintuitive to some of the stuff we've done. But on the inhale, we're coming forward, and notice how the sit bones separate a little. That's widening through the pelvic floor as our shoulders come forward. We are hinging from the hips, so not rounding, and we're coming up. So hands underneath those sit bones. This is the inhale. This your sitting bones widen, and the exhale. Inhale, exhale. And I want you to focus on the pelvic floor here, in between. So on that inhale, as we're coming forward, the pelvic floor, of course, is widening as the sitting bones widen. And then on that exhale, as we come back up, the sit bones come towards each other and the pelvic floor naturally comes in, which is half of our movement when we're doing the long endurance or quick pulses. So then we're going to draw in and up. So it comes together and up. So we're just going to exaggerate that a little. So exhaling forward, and as we come in, pelvic floor draws in and up. Pulsing in and up, just getting used to that movement. Nicely done. And then we'll come all the way up and release the hands. Give those hands a little bit of a shake. Hands resting on the thighs. Take a breath in. Exhale it out, coming into seated cat and cow. On the inhale, the heart, the belly comes forward, shoulder blades towards each other. And on the exhale, we're tucking the tailbone and rounding. And as you do this, you could consider in the pelvic floor, on that inhale as we're coming forward, and the pelvic floor is widening even more because the shoulders are forward, we're sending our tailbone out behind us. On the exhale is that drawing in and up. So again, we're adding those movements into dynamic, kind of everyday movements here. Getting that flexion and extension through the spine. Keep the breath steady. If you want to add on with the arms, we're going to spread them wide. That's the inhale. On the exhale, fingertips come towards each other. Chin can come down. Inhale, chin can lift. Exhale, fingertips towards each other. Like we've got big wing spans that are moving fluidly. And this is a great movement for the pelvic floor as it's having to expand just like our arms and come back towards each other. And all we're doing is creating different movements where we're focused on the pelvic floor, so we don't have to be still to focus on it. Nice, we've got one more to go. And then we're going to come all the way to center. Big breath in. Exhale it out. Nicely done. And then from here, we're going to take those hands, hook the thumbs, and rest the hands towards our upper chest. Shoulders over hips, head over heart, and we're lifting up. As if they've got as if that imaginary wall I'm always talking about is behind us. This is the inhale. The exhale, we're going to tip to one side, inhaling up and coming over to the other. Now this is not unlike when we swept our arms. We're again getting into the side flexion of the spine. But the focus here, rather than being on the lengthening side, is on the compressing side. Taking the shoulder towards the hip as we curl in. It's not a very big movement. And again, making sure the shoulders aren't sneaking forward or the head isn't sneaking forward. Let's take two more either side. Steady breath. Making sure the feet and hips are plugged in and down. We've got one more to go. Coming all the way up to center and releasing the hands. Big breath in. Exhale it out. We're coming into our twist, getting all the spinal movements. We're going to be twisting to the left to start with, rooting down to rise. Stay with the breath, never push past the breath. So we've got that steady rhythm within your rhythm, not mine. This is the inhale, we lengthen. On the exhale, right hand forward, left hand back as we twist. and coming back to center. So it is a gentle opening up. If you want to add on with the arms, this is the inhale. On the exhale, arm comes up, cactus the arms, and take it back behind you. And inhaling back to center. Work down through that right foot so the right hip is plugged down and in, so it's not sneaking forward. Getting that full rotation. You can look over that left shoulder if that feels okay in your cervical spine. Now let's take 2 more in movement. And then the option is to keep flowing in movement. If this feels really good to you, or the next time we twist, we stay 3 breaths. And we start to stay here with the musculature of our body, rather than the gripping of the hands. Keep the breath flowing, that steady breath. You might even be able to tap into the pelvic floor here, that expansion and softening. Staying for that last exhale. And when you're ready, in your own time, we come back to center. Any intuitive movement to release tension. And when you're ready, we're twisting to the other side. So we root to rise, exhale, left hand forward, right hand back as we twist. Gentle opening up of the spine here, keeping that left foot rooted down to keep the left hip in place. Keeping that rotation through the upper body. Working with your rhythm of breath. If you want to add on, right arm comes up, cactus, and to the right or back behind you. Inhaling and exhaling. Noticing if this takes away from the spinal movement and focus. If it does, then take the hands back to sliding up and down the front of the thighs or the side of the arms of the chair. Option to keep flowing. Option next time we twist to stay there 3 breaths. Root down through your feet and seat if there's any gripping with the hands. Hovering, holding yourself here as you breathe. Can you tune into that whole torso breath there? Last breath, stay for that last exhale. And then when you're ready, we're coming all the way back to center. Rolling through the shoulders. Big breath in. Exhale it out. Nicely done. And then from here, we're going to take that left hand underneath the left sit bone. We're going to take the right hand to the pubic bone, right in the front here. We're going to just walk that left foot out a little. You can keep the foot on the floor, or you can lift the heel or the toes. Depends on what feels good to you. Now I want you to feel that sit bone. And then we're going to internally rotate. And notice how the sit bone comes out to the side. Right foot is rooted, so we're just moving in through the left leg here. And then we're going to rotate that out, and notice the sit bone starts to move in. And there's a gentle rotation there. What we're doing is isolating that left side of the pelvic floor as it gets bigger and smaller, or as it widens and narrows. And because we know that the pelvic floor is not just in isolation, it is part of our core, it's actually strengthening and stabilizing that whole left side. And the next time we come back to center, we're going to release the pubic bone and the sit bone. Give that hand a little shake. We're going to take that left foot in. Right hand under the sit bone, left hand in front of that pubic bone. And the reason the left hand is there is because we want to stabilize there. We're going to take that, walk that right foot out a little. Again, different people feel that it's better on the heel or the toe. But what we're doing is we're going to drop that knee in and then widen the knee. The pubic bone is still unstable, but that sit bone is drawing in and out. As we internally rotate, the sitting bone pushes out, and as we externally rotate, the sitting bone moves in. And again, we're isolating the right side of the pelvic floor movement. And that stabilizes that whole right side through the hip, the pelvis, and up through this, the core of our body. Let's take one more. Nicely done. And then from here, releasing the hands, taking that right leg back, and we just wash the knees in and out. Beautiful. Big breath in. Exhale it out nice and slow. From here, now we've done one side and the other. We're going to take the feet a little wider, coming a little more forward on your chair if you want less support, back on your chair if you want more support. Ankles more or less under the knees. And then as we know, when we take the knees out, the sitting bones come closer and towards each other. So with this external rotation, we're going to start to do our pelvic floor movements, long holds and quick pulses. I'm going to do the long hold just for one set of 10. I'm going to do the quick pulses for 2 sets of 5. Okay, so keep the breath going. We've got that steady breath coming in and out. Take a breath in. And on an exhale, everything in your pelvic floor, back, middle, and front is drawing together and up. And we're holding for 10, 9, 8. Keep breathing. 7, 6. Relax where it's tightening. 5, 4. Still connected to the breath. 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Allow the pelvic floor to move with the diaphragm. And now we're going to do 2 sets of 5 for those quick pulses. So breathe in when you're ready. On an exhale, the pelvic floor is coming together and up, and we're pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it go. I'm going to do that again. Big breath in. Exhale as the pelvic floor comes together and up, lifting, pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Noticing if there were different areas of your body that were tightening here. And if there were, notice that. So when you come back to it, you'll be aware of the places you need to be mindful of keeping soft. Fingertips to the inside of the thigh. Big breath in. Exhale it out. Whole torso breaths here. And when you're ready, we're going to start to roll through the ribs. Now, as we know, the pelvic floor is part of this whole core, taking in the pelvic floor, the hips, all the abdominal walls, front, side, and back, and the diaphragm is kind of like the roof there. So from here, we just want to soften everything. This is a very controlled movement, so we're using our core to move here, but we're trying to find that fluidity within the movement. This is easing and lubricating the hips, as well as the pelvis, the spine, and maybe the shoulders, the head and neck. On the next exhale, we'll pause and take that round in the opposite direction. Nice and slow and steady. Soften where you can. If there's areas of your body that as you do this movement are tightening, do your best to ease them. Let's take another 2 here. And as we come back to center, we're going to walk the feet back in towards each other and just wash the knees side to side. Beautifully done. Coming back to center, focus on that whole torso breath, that balloon inflating on the inhale and retracting on the exhale. Notice it in your shoulders, your upper chest, your ribs and belly in the front. And then notice it in the back body too, your shoulder blades, your ribs and the back body, the kidney area and the lower back, all expanding and softening. And then awareness to the pelvic floor. On the inhale, the pelvic floor as the diaphragm pushes down, the pelvic floor gently lowers, and on that exhale, the pelvic floor retracts. Making sure that you're focused on the pelvic floor and it is moving subtly and gently with the breath. It's no longer held. And it's like a gentle opening or a blooming. You could consider that inhale like a rose expanding into full bloom, and that exhale like all the petals come back into a nice tight bud. Inhaling, that rose blooms, and exhaling, it comes back into that tight bud. Or again, the blueberry being picked up just gently, and then on that inhale, the blueberry gets put down. Nicely done. Stay there and practice that as many times or for as long as you like. And then we're going to come down to the floor, making sure that you have everything you need for your relaxation at the end. And I'm going to be using a bolster as I come down to the floor, but a nice firm pillow or a couple of bath towels rolled up towards each other will equally suffice. So gather what you need, and I'll see you down on the floor. Here we are down on the floor. I have my bolster handy for a little bit later. We're going to come all the way down to our back when you're ready. So knees to the sky, feet to the floor. Settle in, maybe lifting the pelvis and drifting the pelvis a little closer towards your heels to lengthen through the spine. Making sure that you feel comfortable here. Maybe those hands resting on the abdomen or the belly, keeping those elbows resting down so the shoulders can be soft. Take a breath in when you're ready. Exhale it out. And I want you to come to those full torso breaths here. Maybe slightly easier to feel because we're not moving against gravity. As when we're sitting, we're having to do, the pelvic floor is having to hold up and in our core and of course all of our internal organs. So here we're supported by the earth. And it might be easier as you keep those whole torso, those balloon breaths in your awareness. You might notice that it's easier for some to connect in with that pelvic floor. On the inhale, the pelvic floor gently pushes down as the diaphragm pushes down. And on that exhale, everything retracts. It's kind of like that blooming I was talking about of the rose. And in this position, start to just focus on the steadiness of the breath. And then we're going to do our long holds and our quick pulses. So when you're ready, take a nice big breath in On the exhale, the pelvic floor is coming in and up. So around your anus, your back passage, your perineum, between the sit bones or between the anus and your sex organs, and the urethra where we pee. So holding everything together and up, like elevator doors coming together and up. And we're holding 4, 10, 9, 8, stay connected to the breath, 7, 6, if any other areas are getting tense, relax them, 5, 4, keep breathing, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. Big breath in. On the exhale, the pelvic floor comes together and up, and we're holding for 10, 9, keep breathing, 8, 7, if anything's tense, let it go, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Nice, and now we're going to do 2 sets of quick pulses. Two sets of 5 here. So when you're ready, take a big breath in, and on that exhale, as the pelvic floor naturally draws in and up, we're going to keep it there and pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let it go. Big breath in. On that exhale, drawing everything together and up, and we're pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let it go. Nicely done. Balloon breaths, that whole torso breath, and we're taking our hands either side of our hips a little wider. Roll one shoulder blade and another underneath each other so we get this openness through the heart. With those steady breaths, we're going to do the same thing as we articulate these holds into different shapes. And as we know, the pelvic floor is part of the whole core. So now we're coming into bridge, so we're going to be engaging through the hips and through the glutes as well, but we're focused on the pelvic floor. So when you're ready, push deeply into both feet evenly and lift the hips up off the floor. Now it can be a hover, it can be a little higher. Notice that the glutes are lifting, you're pushing evenly down through the feet, but you can still get that belly breath going here. Take a big breath in, and then your next exhale, you're drawing in and up, and you're holding for 10, 9, 8, keep breathing, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to take the hips down and relax the pelvic floor. That blooming in the pelvic floor and drawing together. We're going to do that one more time. When you're ready, pushing into the floor evenly, both feet, lifting the hips, and drawing the pelvic floor on your next exhale together and up, and we're holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release the hips and release the pelvic floor. Those balloon breaths or rose breaths as they expand and tighten. From here, we're going to lift the hips again, and we're going to do 2 sets of 5 pulses, holding it up there. So pushing down through your feet when you're ready, lifting the hips a little or a lot. Keep the breath going, and on your next exhale, the pelvic floor, the whole pelvic floor draws in and up, and we're pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Keep the hips lifted, and we're doing it again. On your next exhale, pelvic floor draws in and up, and we're holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and take the hips down and breathe. Making sure that pelvic floor is nice and soft. And don't be surprised if lifting through the hips is harder with isolating the pelvic floor. We're starting to engage other muscles as we engage the pelvic floor. So if this is really confusing to you, you're going back to simply hips on the floor, focusing on your pelvic floor, and adding on when you feel ready. Next shape, we're coming over to the side, and this is where I'm going to take that bolster and place it behind me, as we're going to use that for a twist later on. So it's right up against the back of my pelvis and my spine here. Knees and ankles at about a 45-degree angle-ish. If you need extra softness under your hips, please take it. Head can be resting on your bicep or a pillow, anything that feels really comfortable for you. And on our side, we're going to engage the pelvic floor here too. So nice big breath in. On an exhale, you're drawing your pelvic floor in and up, and we're holding for 10, 9, 8, keep breathing, 7, 6, 5, relax anything else that's tense, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. We're going to do that one more time, and then we're going to do our quick pulses. Do not be surprised if being in another shape makes it harder to focus on. That's why we're doing it. We don't only want to be able to engage the pelvic floor when we're on our back with our knees in the air. We want it all day, all the time. So when you're ready, being able to focus on that pelvic floor in different shapes. We'll take a breath in. On the exhale, the pelvic floor is coming together and up, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, keep breathing, 6, 5, relax anything else that's tense, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. We're going to do two sets of pulses for 5. So big breath in. When you come to your exhale, you're drawing in and up, and we're pulsing now for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. We'll do that again. Big breath in, exhale it out, and on that exhale, drawing in and up, pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. From here, if your head is up a lot, we're going to take that down, drawing that top hand onto your top hip and resting that elbow maybe on that bolster or support behind you. Great place to be right here. Rolling the top shoulder back. And your option is here, keeping that support on your pelvis, so your pelvis is feeling fairly stable, hips stacked. Option to take that arm back towards, the hand is now resting rather than the hip on the bolster or support. And the option is here to extend that arm. Now, depending on where that support is, you can open that out into a cactus or a T, and we've got our supine twist here. And we're taking some full deep breaths. Those balloon breaths into the whole torso. You can take that gaze over the back shoulder if that suits you. And when you're ready, that back hand resting on the bolster. And when you feel ready, riding onto your hip as we come back on our side. And we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So taking that support in front of you, taking the knees up and rolling to the other side. I'm going to come this way so I can still face you. that bolster sliding up against your back body, supporting yourself and your hip with as much softness as you need. And from here, engaging the pelvic floor. So I take a big breath in. On the exhale, we're drawing together and up. 4, holding, 4, 10, 9, keep breathing, 8, 7, 6, relax what's tense, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And we'll do that one more time. Big breath in. On an exhale, pelvic floor draws together and up, and we're holding for 10, 9, keep breathing, 8, 7, release the jaw, the face, 6, 5, relax the hips, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Nicely done. And then we're going to do our 2 sets of 5 pulses. So when you're ready, big breath in. On an exhale, drawing together and up, and we're pulsing 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Big breath in. Exhale it out, drawing together and up. We're pulsing 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Nicely done. From here, making sure your head is supported. Top hand resting on that top hip, a great place to stay. Rolling that back shoulder back. Option to slide the elbow or hand back onto the support behind you, maybe that bolster. Option to stay as you are, and maybe, depending on the space you have, opening out into a cactus, into that supine twist. And wherever you are, if there's another twist you want to take as that feels better, go ahead. Those balloon breaths in your whole torso. You can even take the gaze over that back shoulder if that suits your neck, if it feels supported. Balloon breaths. And when you're ready, we'll take that back hand onto the bolster or support, and when you're ready, back onto the hip, and we're coming in towards ourselves. From there, wherever you are, rolling over onto your back. We're going to draw the knees in towards you. Give yourself a little hug. Knees can be together or a little wider. Hands to knees, or interlace your hands or grip onto your hands. And with this compression here, take the awareness to the pelvic floor, that inhale, blossoming. Taking the knees in towards your chest, either together or wide, hands on the knees, or hold on to where it feels good for you. And with this deep compression in the torso, it is easier to find the pelvic floor and that balloon breath here. Feeling that pelvic floor on that inhale expand and soften. Stay there for as long as you like. You can rock and roll from side to side here. If there's anything you wish to take, like a happy baby, feet up towards the sky, hands to the outer thighs, shins, ankles, or feet, in stillness or in movement, or if it feels better to drift those arms and legs
with soft joints up towards the earth, up towards the ceiling, letting the weight of the arms and legs sit back into the earth, letting all those fluids from your fingers and toes, legs and arms drain into your torso. Nice and bent through all the joints, so we're not forcing anything. And then when you're ready, the hands drift down, bending the knees and letting the feet drift. And then if you have that support underneath you of the bolster, you can take that underneath your thighs or the back of your knees. That's a great way of letting the lower back soften. And if there's another shape that you want to take for your relaxation, go ahead. And as you do that, I'll come to a seat, making sure that you really take the time to adjust any extra layers if you're a little chilly, maybe placing an eye pillow or a clean dark sock over your eyes to dim the lights a little. Most of our senses comes in through our eyes, so once we cut off that sense, then we're getting much less stimulation with the brain, aiding our intention to quieten and go inwards. And take any lost adjustments that feel really good to you. There's no wrong way to do this, and if you want to be in a different shape than you've chosen, please give yourself that permission. And when you're ready, we'll take a full breath in. Exhale it out. Full breath in. Hold at the top. Exhale it out. 2 more like that. Big breath in, holding in your own time, and then releasing. And as you release, let your body sink deeper. And 1 more time. And then let the breath settle into its own rhythm. Noticing that support underneath you. And that harmony of the breath and the body moving together. And if you want to, imagine that you are lying or seated on the softest of clouds. The softest of clouds. And every inhale, that cloud drifts up as you take in air. And every exhale, that cloud sinks down just a few millimeters. So your breath evens out, the cloud lifting on the inhale and deepening on the exhale, allowing your body to feel a little lighter on that inhale. And as if your bones just got a little heavier on the exhale. And let the breath be its own natural rhythm. No control. You're just observing the cloud lifting and lowering as it supports you. With every exhale, noticing just how much more tension you can let go of as the cloud softly descends millimeters or more if you wish. And every exhale, you can allow the cloud to support you even more as you relax little pockets of tightness and tension throughout your body.
Just observing the cloud lifting and lowering. Getting curious on that exhale as to just how much you can let go of. Allowing your thoughts to also soften. And those exhales, see if you can pause the thoughts altogether. And allow them free rein on that inhale, but on that exhale, just pausing the thoughts. Just focusing on that letting go, that softening, that dipping down of the cloud. You can stay here for as long as you like, floating on that cloud, lifting and deepening. If you wish to stay for longer, then simply tune my voice out to let my words drift over your awareness as you rest in that deep quietness. And for those of you who wish to finish your practice, feel the support underneath you as you allow that sense of the cloud to dissolve. Support of the different textures, and underneath you, ultimately the earth. You fill your whole body with your awareness from the crown of your head to the tip of your toes. Notice that harmony of the breath and the body working together. And when you're ready, start to take a little deeper breath in. Exhale it out. And take a few breaths just like that. Starting to fill up with air from your toes to the crown of your head on that inhale. On the exhale, let the energy settle into your cells. And with those more mindful breaths, bring gentle, slow, lazy, awakening movements. Fingers and toes, maybe wrists and ankles, or head and neck, nice and slow. Noticing what feels right to you to awaken. And then in your own time, maybe rolling to one side or another, or making your way up to where you wish to finish your practice. We'll find ourselves with that intuitive movement guiding us back to a place that wherever it is that you've chosen to be. Maybe the hands come into a gesture of closing that suits you today. Rooting to rise. When you're ready, take a breath in. On the exhale, let the chin slowly lower towards the chest. The eyes drift softly down or close. And bring into your awareness something that you're very grateful for, a person, a place, a situation, an experience, a thing. And let that gratitude fill your whole being. A sense of that gratitude, allow it to grow within. You might even notice that your lips at the edges just want to peek up just a little, bringing a soft, gentle gratitude into your face as well. And take a breath of gratitude for whatever that is that you brought into your awareness, that brought that sense of gratitude in. And with that same sense of gratitude, take a breath of gratitude for yourself as well, for being here today, for focusing, for moving, for breathing. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here. Namaste. And keep practicing everything we're doing, focusing those long holds and the quick pulses of the pelvic floor as you move through your day. I recommend at least 2 or 3 times a day that you're doing 3 long holds and those maybe 3 quick pulses of 10 or 5. But as you spread them throughout your day, as you're in different shapes, this is all going to help you keep that strength in the pelvic floor and allow you to move forward through your life with this stronger pelvic floor. So, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week.